Welcome, fans,
Hello.
and welcome, new members. Hello, Judge Vivian.
Hi, Judge Dawn. We are so excited tonight. We have a special guest, and we get to talk about a very interesting topic. The whole Astroworld, Travis Scott, SZA, Drake. Yeah, Apple, I think, is now involved in this lawsuit. I mean, it is massive. So we are very, 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 very excited about the topic tonight.
I know our fans say we're always excited, but this is even more exciting a second because we have a real attorney who does this. Now, Judge Vivian and I are real attorneys, but we're not real sports agents, entertainment law. We want to be, and we try to be, but we have a real attorney who's represented real people in the industry. We are so excited, and she is appearing just because we want her to. And we talked about before about you don't always have to be a litigator. Attorney Brown is one of those non-litigator people that we talked about, and she's also a 2%er. Yay. 2%er. Yay.
Just to give you a quick little thing. Now she gratefully her CV is very long, so she gratefully gave me 6 good little points I can hit. She's an artist, manager, and/or attorney for several multi-platinum artists in the hip hop, jazz, gospel, country, and R&B arena. She was an NFL agent representing football players for 10 years. The co-founder of the independent record label in Nashville, co-producer and co-publishing deal with Curb Records in Nashville, the associate dean and the head of the Mike Curb Music Business Program at Belmont University. So, that's like where country artists, where Trisha Yearwood, Brad Paisley came from. And then she was the attorney for the Great Escape Tour in 2017. So she knows all about these concerts. And we are so excited to have her tonight. I know we are very, our show is a little shorter now than it used to be. So I'm going to go ahead and give her the floor. Y'all have some fun with Judge Dawn and Miss Pam tonight.
Okay, before we get into it all, we want to encourage your comments, encourage your questions. We're not giving legal advice. We're giving our opinion and our stance on current legal issues. We invite you to chat and come in and leave a comment, share us on Facebook. And tonight, we're talking about Travis Scott, the rapper. I don't think Attorney Brown represented Travis Scott, but what she is going to do is fill us in about lawsuits. I think we've talked before about anybody can sue anybody about anything, and that doesn't mean he's a winner. What are the elements of the lawsuit? What do you have to prove, and what's going on? So I invite you to comment and leave questions. And what I'm going to do is set the stage right now by giving you some things that are on the internet. And so you can chime in if you want to. It says some of the headlines: Travis Scott, Drake, Apple, and Live Nation facing new $2 billion astronomical lawsuit. Travis Scott, Drake, Live Nation hit with Astroworld lawsuit. No exits, no lights, no air. This Astroworld security failures put thousands at risk. And so, Attorney Brown, you have the floor. I'm going to interrupt you very little. Can you tell us a little bit about this lawsuit and what's going on? What do people hope to gain? And what's the point? And what's the venue? Where's the lawsuit going to be? And who are the lawyers? And what type of lawyers represent these people? And just school us and take us to school about this Astroworld and Travis Scott situation.
Well, thank you for having me on. I'm really excited to talk about this and to be with you all this evening. Let's go back to the beginning. When you have an artist, someone like Travis Scott, he has a manager who is working with his booking agent to try to get him concert dates. So then the concert dates are put on by a promoter. And in this instance, that's AEG Live. The venue was Astroworld. And so at that point, everyone enters into a contract. The promoter enters into a contract with the venue. The artist enters into a contract with the booking agency and the promoter to put on this concert. And
Are
there are a
all
lot of
these lawyers, none of these lawyers have to be a lawyer? What do you have to know about contract? Do you have to like the artist, understand rap? What's do I have to understand rap to be a promoter or a manager or the lawyer, the agent representing these people?
No, not. I think, the basic skills for promoting a concert don't change whether it's a rap concert or a jazz concert. The only things that change, which would be interesting in this case, is for a while, promoters didn't want to really back rap concerts, and insurance companies didn't want to cover them because they had the potential to have issues like this. There was one other concert that happened years ago, actually in Nashville, and I was at that concert with my younger brother, where after the concert, below the auditorium, they were going to have autographs. And after the concert was over, all of the attendees started walking downstairs in this hall to get to the bottom. Well, the custodians at the bottom saw all these people coming and panicked and locked the doors. So you had this crush of people coming down this hallway, and they didn't open up the doors. And so two young ladies were crushed to death in this incident. And that was the first time that it happened. The problem that you have in that instance is, one, is there enough security there? Is there crowd control? Are there enough medics? Those are going to be all the issues that are going to be talked about, in addition to what role did the artist play? What role did the promoter play in terms of, as soon as they realized something was going on, when should you stop the concert? So there's so many issues at hand in this.
The expression deep pockets about lawsuits, what does that mean? Because you mentioned manager, promoter, the venue, the insurance company, the security. What is the theory about this thing about deep pockets? What does that mean?
Well, deep pockets means that if you're a plaintiff, you want to go after the person that you think has the best ability to pay. Generally, they're going to sue everyone, but in the end, it's generally going to be the insurance company that has guaranteed that concert. And most concerts, it's a minimum of $1 million bodily injury. But for rap concerts, I bet if we saw that contract, it was way more than that.
Wow. And so these lawsuits happen a lot and we just don't know it. I mean, you said $1 million like it's nothing. $1 million at a concert.
Right. No, it does happen because you have slips and falls and you may have a fight breakout. You have a lot of things that go on that aren't as tragic as happened here, and people will sue because they'll try to say that either the venue was negligent, or in this situation, the Travis Scott has a lot of issues because he pled guilty in 2018 for inciting rage, and rage is a term that they use to say that they encourage the audience to rush the stage. So he's already pled guilty to that in another instance. It didn't result in any death, but I think there were some injuries. So he's got to overcome that burden with that already be established. And the other issue with him is that many of the eyewitnesses are saying that the people in the front were trying to tell him to stop the concert because people were passing out and the emergency people were there trying to render aid. He claims he didn't know what was happening and actually went to a party after the concert because he's saying he didn't even know what was going on. He and Drake were performing, and when it was over, they went to a party. And he's saying that had he known, of course, he would have stopped the concert. So that's going to be another big issue. And so there's going to be a lot of finger pointing between the artist, the venue, the promoter, and the insurance company.
What typically, it's hard to say typically, what typically happens in this kind of stuff? Does everyone kind of sit at the table, the plaintiff who's doing the suing, and the manager and promoters and insurance company, and say, look, let's do this. Let's give $1 million for this, $3 million for this, and call it a day? Or it typically blows up into something big and trial and change of law, change of venue, drag on and on. What is kind of the typical way these lawsuits are settled?
They're usually just settled. There's a lot of people file a lawsuit so they can do discovery, and then in the discovery process, the plaintiff's attorney can find out just how culpable people are, to what extent. There's allegations that, one, there wasn't enough security. Usually in crowd control protocol at a concert, you have to have at least one security person and one EMT person for every 1,000 people or 2,000 people. So were there enough people under contract that were there? The allegations are that they were not. The second thing is people are alleging that the EMT people that were there, some of them didn't even know how to do CPR. They definitely didn't know how to handle a trauma situation like that. And so, is that something? Had they been there, could that have helped save some lives? And then the other thing with the crowd control, people were killed because of the trampling. And the idea is that if you have proper crowd control, you never would have had the degree of trampling that you had.
Now, the proper crowd control, is that the police officer? Is that the manager? Is that the venue? Is that the agent? Who is responsible for that? Or everyone has a piece of responsibility in it?
It's primarily the venue and the promoter. Because what happens is the promoter signs a contract with the venue to put the date on at the venue. So then the venue usually requires the promoter to have adequate security and adequate medical staff, especially for a concert that they thought was going to have at least 50,000 people.
Is there any defense things like, and I'm not, I know everybody feels remorse for people that have lost their lives. It's tragic. Mm-hmm. It's tragic. Is there any defense, like you kind of assume something? You're going to a Travis Scott concert. I don't know him. I've never heard his song. I just researched him 2 weeks ago. In my day, it was P-Funk Parliament Funkadelic. You kind of know it's going to be wild. People are going to be passing people around and smoking marijuana. You're going to get your feet cut because somebody's going to bust a bottle. Is there anything defense, like you kind of should have known at a Travis Scott concert, it can get wild? Not death, but there's any defenses of that?
I don't think that they really allow those defenses. That's why, the insurance companies have the money there to handle the minor incidents. They would consider that minor. Someone stepped on some glass, someone maybe was burned, by a cigarette, or, usually that's not a problem. But when you get these issues of, did the crowd control or the lack thereof contribute to the stampeding and the death of people, then that's when you have a real issue.
Now, as an agent, what would your role be at this point? Are you representing the Travis Scott? Are you representing the venue? Are you representing the insurance company? If you're the agent, you're the one who is actually representing Travis Scott.
Yeah, and when you're the agent, you're the person that seeks dates for Travis Scott. And usually those dates are provided by a promoter. So the agents in this situation usually don't have any liability. It's primarily the artist, the venue, and the promoter, because the agent's just the middle person.
Now, who is the one that tells Travis Scott or Drake do not talk to the public? Your agent, the promoter, the manager, or his private attorney?
And his lawyer. I read a couple of accounts where some entertainment attorneys were saying that they couldn't believe that Travis Scott's lawyers allowed him to say, of course he's remorseful, but he's been constantly in the media, probably because he's in shock that this happened at his concert and is just devastated. But he's made public statements that he's going to cover the funeral of all the people that, died, that he's going to do this and that. And they were saying, as his attorney, they're surprised that they let him go on and on like that when lawsuits are being filed. And everything you say, is in the media and recorded and can be used against you in court.
That's the thing that I want to emphasize about having an attorney. An
Mhm.
attorney is there to protect your rights, to
Right.
minimize your exposure, minimize your damages. Sometimes you're going to be found guilty. We don't walk on water. We don't part the Red Sea. We do the best we can. And the attorney would suggest and advise you to remain silent. You're a free individual with a First Amendment right to be as rude as you want to, say anything you want to. But when your attorney advises you maybe to be quiet, you should maybe be quiet. I don't know what
Yeah.
Travis Scott's attorney advised him. Uh-oh, Judge Vivian shaking her head said, no, we don't do that.
You know they never do what we ask when it comes to being quiet.
Never, never.
I had someone on my TikTok say, why do lawyers keep saying this? You guys say this all the time. That's all I hear. And I'm like, because y'all don't listen.
Never.
Clearly,
Never.
Travis Scott was told this. I don't think any attorney worth their grain in salt said, oh, go and talk and make all these great statements that can be used against you so we can have something worse to fight in the future. And he was like, yeah, sure, I'm not going to say anything. And then the first thing he did was,
maybe nervous, maybe young, maybe nervous, maybe young, maybe it's lifestyle. I'm Travis Scott. I'm a rapper. I'm invincible. Everything's going to be okay. I don't know. Your lawyers are old fashioned,
Well,
your stuffed shirt, you worry about everything. I don't know. But you're right.
no,
They don't
I
listen
think
to counsel.
in his defense, he seemed to be really connected to his fans, and it just may have been grief talking. That he was just inconsolable to think that kind of death, and it's now up to 10 or 11, happened at his concert. That doesn't make it right, and
The purpose
legally
of
that
these
was the wrong thing to
lawsuits,
do.
the purpose of these lawsuits, what would you say the purpose is? Why are we suing? Why are we suing Travis Scott and the venue, Astroworld, Drake? What is the purpose of this lawsuit? What are we doing?
Well, I just I just read that Ben Crump is now representing about 10 people. And I think the basis of their claim is that, but for the mismanagement of the crowd control and the lack of adequate security, that this was a preventable incident.
Okay. So we're seeking millions of dollars for punitive funeral arrangements, to send a lesson, to change the industry. What do we really want to effectuate at this lawsuit? I mean, every lawsuit is different, but what are the
Right.
10 or 11 or a dozen people really looking for? And Mr. Crump is
Well,
looking for. What is he? Why is he in there?
I think primarily because most of these people were under 25. You have a loss of life, and however many years you say that this person could have had a fulfilling life, the loss to the family, and probably also punitive to just ensure that the industry takes a look at itself so that this doesn't happen again.
Foreseeability. Did anybody really know? Forget Travis Scott in the actual venue. Do you think anybody sat at the table and say, well, we should have some more fire exits, but whatever. We'll just drop and punt and see. Does that happen in the private boardrooms of the agents and the venue talking like we should do this, but it's costly. We'll just ignore that this time.
That's a tough question because I'm pretty certain that in many instances, people feel that, the industry standard might say you need, one officer per every 1,000 people. I'm just throwing a number out. But the venue and the promoter may say, that's a lot of money. We've never had a problem before. Let's do, one officer for every 10,000 people. And I'm imagining that's probably what happened here, was that, that, and if you don't realize that they're going to be 50,000 people, maybe they thought it was going to be a 20,000 person concert, but at the point they had 50,000 in ticket sales, they should have adjusted the security and the medical personnel.
And there's no real one person who heads it, like the CEO of the corporation. Everybody has their little part, and they kind of, you're responsible for this, I'm responsible for this, I'm responsible for this, but nobody coordinates the whole thing and say, okay, we're good. We're pulling the
It should
trigger,
be.
we're good.
Usually the venue and the promoter and the artist manager get together, and they go over a check. One, when they're negotiating the contract, to make sure that all those provisions are there. Usually in insurance company, the legal team is looking at it to make sure they feel that all of the safeguards are in there. So there were breakdowns probably in several places.
How many lawyers
Somebody
are
should have
involved in
caught
this?
that.
The agent
Mhm.
doesn't have to be a lawyer, but the agent is a lawyer. The promoter doesn't have to be a lawyer. Does the promoter
Right.
have a lawyer, or he is a lawyer?
Usually well, it depends. If it's a big agency like AEG Live, they have lawyers. Whether the lawyer actually looked at it or whether they just have a template that they fill in the blanks, that happens a lot.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
I recognize that, he may be devastated at this point. So he's probably trying to, like you said, make people feel better, kind of assuage, the feelings of everyone.
Mm-hmm.
But I really hope he does start listening to his attorney and stop kind of talking about it. I also saw a video. I don't know if you ladies did, of Scissor, the Scissor, actually the
Mm-hmm.
female
Artist.
president.
Mm-hmm.
And she was just like discussing the shock and how shocking it was, and the trauma of the experience for her
Mm-hmm.
on her stage at another one of her concerts recently. And I noticed that she has not been enjoying in the suits, at least not from the news that I have found. And I am curious, actually, why. And not, I mean, she was one of the performers.
Was she a
Well, I
performer
think
or just hired from the hype man or something? Was she actually a part of the
no.
contract, or
What happened was, this was a concert that had two stages. And what
Okay.
they did was they would have one artist perform, and then there's supposed to be, 30 minutes for the crowd to go from one stage to the next. So SZA performed right before Drake and Travis Scott. And Travis Scott was a special guest. The audience didn't even know he was going to be there. So I read somewhere that the facility didn't allow the 30 minutes after SZA and before Travis Scott was supposed to start, so that when the audience heard Travis Scott start and him introducing Drake, they rushed from the SZA stage over to the Travis Scott stage. And so that's why SZA is not being sued. It's because the melee happened with Drake and Travis Scott on that stage.
Okay. That makes sense. I was just curious
Mm-hmm.
because I noticed that her name, at least I haven't seen it throughout any of the
Right.
lawsuit information that I have
Right.
been reading. And I know
Right.
they're not releasing, of course, everything, because that would be crazy. But
Right.
okay, that's an interesting
Well, and
topic.
technically, had Drake not been on the stage, he wouldn't have been, he wouldn't have been a party or listed as a defendant either. I'm sure. I won't be surprised if the judge allows him to be removed as a defendant, unless there's evidence that he performed through the whole Travis Scott show, and that he knew or should have known that people were in distress and didn't also tell Travis Scott to stop the concert.
so Travis Scott was on stage or when announcing he was going to be on stage, and Drake had nothing to do with it? Well, Drake was not on stage, Red. Is that the
Well, he performed with Drake, but the two of them are saying that the lights were in their eyes, so they couldn't see in front of them that people were passing out and that the emergency people were coming. Will people believe that? I'm not sure.
I don't
You
know. I
know.
don't know whether believe it or not, but I think each of one of us been responsible, the lead or the head or in church or in court or whatever, or a law
Mm-hmm.
firm, regardless of lights
Mm-hmm.
my eyes, it rolls
Mm-hmm.
uphill. It stops
That's
at
right.
me. And so I
Yeah.
don't know if you can shield yourself from a lawsuit and said, I
Mm-hmm.
didn't know. Well, you should have known. You should have, would have, could have, and the responsibility falls on you. I don't know.
Well, and the other comment that Travis Scott has made is that he saw several people passed out and the emergency people taking care of them. But he said that happens a lot in concerts, so he didn't think anything about it.
Wow.
Now, the other flip side of that is that the fans that were there said they were screaming and begging them to stop the concert, and they didn't.
I don't know. I'm going to play devil's advocate here and say, while I do agree with everything that's said, it is a concert. People are already screaming. You don't know if those screams are, I love you. I mean, how many times have we seen celebrities bum rushed, or how many times have we ever we've seen people screaming at them and for them, and it's excitement. It has nothing to do with fear. It has nothing to do with harm. It's literally, I'm just excited to be in the presence of this person that I either idolized or put on this pedestal for so long. So I agree. It is very possible that he could have just been like, "Oh, they just screaming like they normally do," because it's
well. Now another devil's advocate too. If I know that the Travis Scott concerts are like this, as the agent, the promoter, the manager, I should have placed something. People, it's not like a Barbra Streisand concert. My favorite artist. If someone's screaming and yelling at a Barbra Streisand concert, somebody has passed out. Something's happened. We're talking the Beatles, Travis Scott, Drake. They're screaming and yelling and underwear being thrown on the stage all the time. Who knew? Who knew?
Well, I think the other problem is that it wasn't just people screaming. There were actually EMT people in front attending to people that were passed out and you were in distress.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, have you seen the trailer for the Michael Jackson concert with the people passing out?
No.
So apparently, when Michael Jackson went on his a dangerous tour or his history tour, they actually have in the trailer like showing the fans like, oh, passing out and all that jazz. And so that's why I'm playing the devil's advocate on that, because I'm like, Michael Jackson, he didn't stop the concert because people was passing out because it was Michael Jackson. And some of the people were passing
out. Presley, the Beatles, no one passed out. I mean, no one stopped the concert. I don't know. I don't know.
I think the difference here is that those were people that were passing out from, just being in love with Michael Jackson or the Beatles. This is a situation where people were passing out because they were being crushed and couldn't breathe and they were fainting.
I'm not victim blaming at all, ladies. No. Please understand that.
But but I'm saying, but would the artists know that?
Why would a 9 or 10-year-old be at this concert? There was a 9-year-old, a 10-year-old crushed to death.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I read that the dad said that when he found out his son loved Travis Scott, he bought the tickets and he took him to the concert and he had him sitting on his shoulders so he could see the stage. And I guess when the people started rushing the stage, he said that he passed out because he couldn't breathe. I guess people were so close to each other, and the little boy fell off his shoulders and then they trampled him. So the father was out the whole time, and when he woke up, they had taken the little boy already to the hospital because his organs were shutting down because of being trampled.
That's what I read. I don't know. I'm not even victim blaming there, but there's something about some personal responsibility. I don't know. 9-year-old Travis Scott. I don't know. Travis Scott. I don't know. It's sad. It's, some personal responsibility. And it just, I can't compare it, but it's almost like suing the tobacco companies because I choose to smoke. And in spite of the warning, all on the label. I don't know. I don't know. Now, the other thing, and Judge Vivian and I talked about before, sometimes we don't agree with the person, the artist, their theory, their lifestyle, but that's not our role as attorneys. Our role as attorneys is to protect your rights. That's kind of it. Travis Scott, if I'm his attorney, I'm going to protect his rights, whether I like him, like his person, like his songs. That's not what I'm hired. I'm not hired to like him. I'm hired to protect his rights. But sometimes
Right.
there's a conflict.
And I know I may have missed this part because you ladies did talk before me a little bit, but were there warnings about trampling though? I mean, if there weren't, throwing this out again, we have products liability issues where if it wasn't specified on the label, you still have a lawsuit. So, I mean, you could throw that up in the air too. Were there warnings that crowd trampling is possible? Should there be warnings? And let's face it, there should, because we as Attorney Pam mentioned before, this is not uncommon. This is not something that has not happened. So this is something that they should have been and could have been more prepared for.
And I think that's the bottom line. That's the bottom line.
And we talked about before, when lawsuits happen, it changes the way we live. It changes laws. Unfortunately, sometimes a tragedy or a mishap really has to happen before we recognize something has to be different. And we talked about that before. That's how a lot of laws are created and still on the books, because something tragic has happened or some loophole has happened. And then we wind up, we know that we need other ways to protect each other or protect ourselves from, other people. I would like to follow this as it's going on. So I encourage the readers to comment, to give us feedback. We always tell you that this is your show. We want to do what you want us to do. We're excited about it, sometimes overly excited, but we're excited about this topic. We're excited about Attorney Brown being here to give us real, live, practical experience.
Yes, and we are nearing the end. I know, guys, we got into it. It was deep with a lot of things to talk about. So as Judge Dawn said, don't forget to leave us any comments, questions, or concerns. I think we have an option here to determine whether or not we think guilty or not guilty. Judge, you want to go ahead and pop in yours?
Initially, I'm going to say Travis Scott is guilty and accept some sort of guilt. I don't know what degree, but he's guilty of at least simple negligence. I should have known better.
I'm gonna agree with you on that. That's what I was thinking. I'm going with negligence. I don't think we should get all into the manslaughter and all of those things. I'm gonna go with probably
not gross negligence. I really didn't care at all, but I knew or should have known better than this. Yeah. And the responsibility to me should lie head to him, not the manager, not the promoters, not the venue. He's the head.
Exactly. Any of our jurors want to weigh in for the next 2 minutes while we do our leave on a positive note? So we're going to leave on our positive note. And I want to say that it was pretty cool. Where's my positive note? For those that don't know, at the end of every segment, for the most part, we try to say something good or something that we found interesting or intriguing on a positive note. So my positive note tonight is apparently the two Black guys or African-American men who were considered a part of Malcolm X's assassination were exonerated yesterday for assassinating Malcolm X. Nice. They determined that they do not believe that they had anything to do with the assassination or the killing of Malcolm X. And so they were officially exonerated almost a decade later. Wow. But nonetheless, they looked into it and decided, to care a little bit more about the situation. So that is our positive note. I don't know if anyone got a chance to see that article, but I thought it was pretty cool.
Very good. And we want to encourage you to come back next Thursday, every Thursday, 7 o'clock. Tune in, like us as the law turns. Attorney Brown, you have been fabulous. And you're representing some NFL players right now? Is she frozen?
She might be.
Uh-oh. You're representing some NFL players right now? Uh-oh. Yes, she's frozen. Okay. That's okay. That's okay.
So guys, don't forget to view us on YouTube too. We're also on YouTube.
And we'll see you next Thursday, 7 o'clock. Thank you. Thank you.